You're listening to the Esoterics Podcast.
Greetings from Pure Elise.
No, God. I just wrote that on there so you could come up with your own greeting.
That's not what it is. I'm going to be like Ron Burgundy and I'm just going to read exactly what you write for me.
Oh my God, let's leave this in because it's ridiculous. Do you want to do it again?
Okay, all right.
Oh my God, that cracks.
That'll be our bloopers reel. Okay.
Please, okay.
Welcome, everyone. This is Pure Elise.
And greetings and hello from Joe. Welcome back to the Esoterics Podcast. Hello, friend. How are you?
I've had a hell of a freaking morning. It's on Monday for sure.
Oh, that Monday energy. What's been going on? What's crazy about it?
Okay, have you heard of there's like a certain pitch of sound that you can hear supposedly up to a certain age? And it's
yes,
almost like
I've
a dog
heard
whistle.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've heard that before.
So I can still hear them. I can still hear that really like low pitch sound. And sometimes it's like an electronic thing that's like not plugged in correctly or something that's like interfering or whatever. Well, this morning I'm sitting in the living room and I hear that sound and it's coming from the kitchen and it's just like it's so strong. It's like it's piercing. It's like a piercing sound, like high pitched sound, and it's like this is like making me so mad. And I'm walking around trying to figure out where this thing is coming from. I go outside, I check because our kitchen's like backs up to the garage wall. So I go into the garage, check if something plugged in there, maybe something wrong. Nothing. And the dogs run outside while I'm doing this, and there they go, and they end up in this corner, and they're barking at something. And you already know where this is going. And so I'm calling them to come back in, and only Ruby listens to me. And then Honey comes back in, and then I think I finally figured out the sound. I'm moving the stove, and then the dogs run back out again because now I have the door open. And then all of a sudden I smell the smell of like I thought it was marijuana, and I was like, "Oh, neighbors smoking?" I was like, "Where'd that smell?" It's the skunk. And so I run outside, not run outside. I run to the door and I'm like calling them. And of course, Honey does not listen. She's too busy. Mm-hmm. She's too busy barking at the thing. Ruby comes back in. Sure enough, she stinks.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So they didn't, I don't think the skunk was in our yard. I think it was on the other side of the fence. Mm-hmm. But it sprayed. And so I gave them a bath this morning.
Isn't that's the second time you've had to spray one or give them a bath too, or one of them at least? Honey.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
Oh no, they're barking at that fucking skunk. You're like, what? Who just sparked one? Wait, that's not.
Like that's not what that is.
Neighbors toking down in the morning. No, no, that's fucking. Oh my God, that sucks. So how did you get them in the house to like touch them and stuff?
They finally came in. They just smelled of it. They didn't get sprayed directly. I think they were just in the general area. So I was able to just wash them with the regular shampoo and they're fine. But
so what does that have to do with the sound? Was that the skunk?
No, nothing to do with this. The sound is still another problem that I have.
Still another thing. So what age do you get to be when that sound lessens?
I think it's like once you hit I thought it was in your 30s or your 40s where you stop listening to high pitched or stop being able to hear high pitched sounds. I don't know.
So have you done any inquiry into maybe it's just your clairaudience? Because your clairaudience could be kicking in, kicking up, amping up.
I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Oh, it says most people over the age of 18 can't. Well, I'm way over 18.
Right. I think this is your clairaudience because there are times when I'll hear things, I'll hear pitches and tones, and they will drive me nuts. And I'll have to tell spirit or ask them, come on, man, I'm uber focused on it, help
Yeah.
lessen
Yeah.
it. And it goes away.
Yeah.
Try that next time. I think it might be your clairaudience because that was the first thing that came to me when you said that. I'm like, oh, your clairaudience is because when it amps up like that, that means that your frequencies. Okay, so your vibrational frequencies, the light codes in your body, they're changing and shifting, and then you're able to discern higher frequencies of energy. So that's what you're discerning. Have you had hot flashes or anything like that? I mean,
Yeah.
other than it's fucking 150 in California, but so
Yeah.
but like regular hot flashes, you're like, what the hell is this?
I have like
Girl.
night sweats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I'm just like, why am I so hot?
Start looking at your what are called your ascension symptoms because I think you're just up leveling, and that's what that is. That because that tone, yeah.
Yeah. It drives me nuts. I can't stand it.
Well, it just means that your clairaudience is kicking in. Are you able to better hear messages internally from your guides?
I mean, yeah, I feel like the thing I was telling you about, that thought that came to me, it was like persistent for like 3 days where I was like, okay, I gotta write this down.
Yeah. I think
So
this is your abilities are up leveling. And also remember where we are right now, those 6 planets in retrograde plus Chiron isn't not fucking around. Everybody's up leveling, but it's going to be at different levels for different people, and it's going to look different for different people because everybody is going through it, but they're all at different stages of their awakening and ascension.
Yeah.
My psychic abilities have been off the charts lately during this, so it makes sense that yours would be too, but you're just not, because it's an up level, you're not aware of what's happening in that context, but you will. You will be. I'm excited. I love this. I've gotten so many clients that have come to me, and they're like, "What's happening?" And I'm like, "Girl, you in danger." No, I don't tell them that. Like, you're becoming psychic.
All right. What's new with you?
I start my astrology mentorship next week.
Oh, awesome.
Or no, it's this week. It's this week in 2 days. I'm very excited. So I had like, I don't know, like a shit ton of list of books that I had to buy. So I bought them all, which, that was a nice chunk of change. None of them interest me. Western astrology does not interest me. I am so freaking geeked out by esoteric astrology. So of course, I have to learn Western astrology because it's a 14-month mentorship. So we're going to learn all sorts of different types, but I'm going to specialize in esoteric astrology.
Awesome.
I know. I'm so excited. I really am.
Perfect.
That's all that's going on. I'm accepting a few more custom commissions for intuitively designed jewelry. So that's been going really well. I've added a bunch of people to my production calendar. I'm going to top it off. I don't know, like 3 or 4 more, and then I'm going to break it off until probably November.
I've loved the pieces you've been posting.
Thank
that last
you.
one with the like the flower on the back. That was beautiful.
Thank you. I love those too. That one was just something that I made to play with the Malagano Jasper. That one actually hasn't sold yet, but
it's beautiful.
I had a reading from somebody that I was interviewing for a reader position at one of our stores, and they told me that I needed to call in my creativity guide when it comes to making jewelry. And so I'm like, oh, all right. So I started doing that, and I'm just starting doing new things other than the basics. But
wow,
yeah, it's fun.
That's fun. Very fun.
What's going on with you? I mean, other than the skunk and
dealing with shit at home. No, not much. Getting ready for my daughter's birthday. She's turning 15. and doing all that, getting her dressed ready and all that stuff. So
No, I thought she wasn't going to have a quinceañera.
no, she's not. It's not a quinceañera. It's just a party. That's
Oh,
it.
all right. Well,
But I
I thought,
still got her like a cute little dress.
oh, and is she excited?
Yeah, she's excited. All her friends come over. Yeah, it'll be a fun time.
All right, good. It's her debutante coming out. I mean, at 15. Right? If they do that sort of thing in the South still, I think.
No, I have decided though after this. I mean, unless my son wants one, because he's only 10, right? So if he wants to have parties, he can do it. But for the girls, I'm like, after this, it's dinners. We're just gonna do dinners, and
Less work.
we can go somewhere. We can do a thing. Like this is the last party.
Well, didn't you guys go to New York? Wasn't that for?
Yes, that's why we didn't have the quinceañera. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
that's why this is more just like a few friends, family, tacos. Like, it's not like a whole fucking mini wedding thing. It's not any of that. It's just at home. So yeah,
nice. Keep it low key. I think. Planning a party, I mean, especially like a big one and all that stuff, that's a lot of work.
It really is.
Yeah. People that do it for a living, I give them lots of props. That's event planning and party planning, and no, it's too many details.
I know some people love it.
I know they do. I just feel like as I'm getting older, I want less detail and bullshit in my life. I just want everything to be simple and easy and fun, and that's really what I feel like I'm headed toward, but we will see.
Yep. Also, as your circle gets smaller or not even smaller, because I feel like I've never had like a big friend circle. It's more, for me, I feel like it's more like your connections just get deeper.
Yeah.
With certain people, right?
Yep.
And so it's more about spending the quality time with the people that you want to spend time with, and not wasting energy, time, whatever, on people that you don't or that you can barely tolerate, or barely, you know what I mean?
Or that you have questions about, your questions of, do they support my highest version of self, right? Will they be there during the rough times, the tough times?
Yes. Exactly.
Things like that. I think that these current astro energies and retrograde energies and all that stuff, my leg's tingling, so I think that's my sign. It's supporting looking at all of the people and the things and the situations in your life that just aren't serving you anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Libra season as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly what Libra's about.
And I don't know that it's like, well, this doesn't serve me or that doesn't serve me. I think people, for me anyway, I'm just tired of things feeling like work. Like I don't want to do anything that feels like work. I just want to do things that feel like joy.
Yeah.
And that includes relationships.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the thing that I was mentioning, which I'm going to make a TikTok about, probably a few TikToks about forgiveness, but part of that message was that we tend to wrap up an entire relationship, and this can be anything, right? Love, friendship, business, whatever, but we tend to wrap things up into a final conclusion, usually based off of how it ended, right? Like, just because something ended poorly, just because maybe you did have this, thing, whatever, you felt like maybe they if it was like your boss or something, or an employer, that you felt like at the end they didn't value you and they let you go, or whatever it was, or if it was a boyfriend or girlfriend or a significant other who didn't respect you or disrespected you, they lied to you, or whatever it was, that you have that tendency to just say like, oh, well, that whole thing was just a waste of my time. That was, that person was trash, and, whatever. But especially when you've invested a lot of time with a person or in a relationship, I think it's important to be like, not all of it was bad. Like sometimes there were those moments of joy. And it's not so much about giving any credit to the other person. It's about giving that credit kind of back to yourself of like, no, I didn't waste my time. Like I learned from that. And yeah, it ended badly, but it wasn't all trash.
Right.
Maybe I wouldn't do it over again, but it doesn't matter now, like whether I would or I wouldn't, because it's done and it's, so I can move on. I'm better because of it. Again, not to have to give any credit to the other person, but our most intimate relationships, our closest relationships are our biggest lessons about ourselves. They teach us the most about ourselves. That's what they're there for.
Finding the joy in the lessons in the moment, then the lessons don't necessarily need to be hard lessons. They can be beautiful lessons.
Yeah.
Kind, fun, exciting lessons.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's when you get to a point where you can look back on a relationship. Maybe you've had to do a lot of processing or a situation or something, or maybe you've had some resentment and you've had to really just finally let that go or whatever. But when you get to the point where you can look back and go, okay, I see the beauty in this. And if I hadn't experienced this, then I wouldn't have this. And so if given the option, would I go back and do it again? If you can have that sort of inner dialogue, then I think that's true healing, moving on, letting go, all that good stuff. So again, really supportive of
the
this
Libra
current energy
season. Libra season energy. Yep.
So I'm not going to get into the details of the story here, but I had we'll just call it an altercation with a drunk asshole at a football game recently. And back in the day, I would have felt so bad and guilty about the way that I handled it, or the things that I said, or something like that. But I came away from this experience feeling empowered, because women are just tired of fucking men. They're tired of the patriarchy and the mansplaining and the just all of that bullshit. And then, some drunk meathead hillbilly idiot. I mean, there's zero room for that bullshit. So that was something that I was feeling really good about myself. So when you're talking about self-forgiveness and all of that stuff, I got to a point where I never had to go through the self-forgiveness, because I was really proud of myself for standing up for myself because of all the shit, especially with, Roe v. Wade and, just women's rights being taken from us and just all of these things, standing over this asshole and pointing, my finger in his face and seeing basically the fear, what's she going to do? Because I was about to go off physically on him, but I decided that I didn't want to spend any time in this Seattle jail. So I was like, no, but, don't lay your hands on women ever in any capacity. And, so it was good. I felt proud of who I was when I walked away from that situation.
Yeah. Sometimes the most spiritual response you can have to someone is telling them to fuck off.
Keep your hands to yourself. Fuck you, and do it again, and I will unleash on you. So yeah, that's true. Okay, what are we going to talk about today?
Okay, today I wanted to talk about Abraham Hicks and who exactly that is. And then also just get into some discussion about privilege and spirituality and, new age, especially new age spirituality and privilege, because, so this was sparked because, the last time we recorded, I pulled that card, right, and it's an Esther Hicks deck. And so I was like, okay, I don't think we ever talked about it. Like, who is this person and what are they about? So I just kind of wanted to know a little bit of the history. Then got into that. And then there was my Google search also took me down like Abraham Hicks naysayers who were like,
the dark web of Abraham Hicks.
It's a cult and there's more like whatever morally despicable teachings and all this
Ugh.
stuff. When I'm like,
Oh,
okay, I'm
don't
like,
like
all right,
them.
let's talk about it.
Right.
So anyway, all right.
all right, good. Let's explore it.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about Esther Hicks. So Esther Hicks, she was born March 5th, 1948. She's an American inspirational speaker, channeler, and author. She has co-written 9 books with her late husband, Jerry Hicks. Jerry passed away of cancer. And they presented numerous workshops on the law of attraction with Abraham Hicks Publications. And they also appeared in the original version of the 2006 film, The Secret. Okay. And according to Esther and Jerry, Abraham consists of a group of entities that are interpreted by Esther Hicks. So by that, they mean channeling.
Channeled, right. She
Yeah.
channels these
She channels
beings.
them.
She channels Abraham.
So Abraham has described themselves as a group consciousness from the non-physical dimension. They have also said, "We are that which you are. You are the leading edge of that which we are. We are that which is at the heart of all religions." It's like,
All right. They're everything.
So it's I am you and you are me, basically. You know, just a fancy way of saying it.
I know. Abraham gets very wordy, and it's like,
Yes.
break it down, Abe. I don't have time for this shit. Break it down.
So Abraham has also said through Esther that whenever one feels moments of great love, exhilaration, or pure joy, that is the energy of source, and that is who Abraham is.
Yeah.
Esther refers to Abraham as infinite intelligence, while Jerry describes him as an expression of unconditional love.
Hey, okay.
Yeah. And so her whole channeling came about because upon meeting her husband, Esther began to meditate intensely on a daily basis. And eventually, due to her receptivity and ability to reach an abnormally high level of vibration, usually only attained by experienced meditation experts, Abraham approached her. Esther is now able to call upon Abraham at any time by vibrating at this level, and Abraham speaks and moves through Esther's body in order to teach those that chose to listen to their insight. So to break it down, here's 12 just bullet points of their teachings, of Abraham's teachings. So I'll go through them real quick because they're just one sentence things. Number 1, you are a physical extension of that which is non-physical. You are not simply starting your life here on earth and waiting to finish to be with God or other non-physical beings. You are on the cutting edge because you are here putting out wants and intentions and propagating the universe forward. 2, you are here in body because you chose to be here. You chose to experience this delicious contrast of time and space and to explore your wants and other joy-seeking with other joy-seeking beings. Number 3, the basis of your life is freedom. The purpose of your life is joy. And that one's pretty self-explanatory. Number 4, you are a creator. You create with your every thought. Every day you are attracting what you give your attention to, whether it be pain, anger, happiness, wealth, success, love. You are attracting what you think about. Number 5, anything that you can imagine can be yours to be or have. It matters not how large or impossible the object of your desire seems to you. To the universe, it's all the same. You can just as easily attract a fortune as you can a meal. Also, the speed at which your desires manifest is directly proportionate to the intensity of your positive thought. Which that one's kind of like, okay. 6, as you are choosing your thoughts, your emotions are guiding you. Your inner being or unconscious guides you with emotions. If you think of negative things, you will experience negative emotions. Take your emotions as directions for what you should be thinking about. Number 7, the universe adores you for it knows your broadest intentions. So the universe is constantly guiding you towards your purpose. Number 8, relax into your natural well-being. All is well. As you go in with the flow and learn to appreciate more things, more pathways for appreciation will be opened up in your life. Number 9, you are a creator of thoughtways on your unique pathway of joy. No one can limit your thoughts. Thus, you can control your own pathway to bliss. Number 10, actions to be taken and possessions to be exchanged are byproducts of your focus on joy. Your actions will be inspired. Your resources will be abundant, and you will know by the way that you feel that you're fulfilling your reason for life. Number 11. You may appropriately depart from your body without illness or pain. Your natural state is that of health and well-being, but you may choose otherwise. And lastly, number 12. You cannot die. You are everlasting life. You may eventually choose to relax and change back to your non-physical state of pure, positive energy, but you will not cease to exist. You are foreverness.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because I have been studying Abraham Hicks for years.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them, I was like, yep. And these aren't just concepts that Abraham teaches. They're also concepts they're the foundation of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
But number 10 was the one that most resonated with me as far as, yes. That's like the truth of who we are. Because the whole point of human incarnation is finding the joy through incarnation. So as souls, when we decide to have an earth incarnation, what is the point of it? Because earth is the place that is complete. It has so many fucking dichotomies and so much, there's a word I'm looking for. That's the opposite of what we need to experience to learn that joy comes through co-creation. End of story. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's such a powerful one. Will you read 10 again so people know what I'm talking about?
Yes. So number 10 was actions to be taken and possessions to be exchanged are byproducts of your focus on joy. Your actions will be inspired, your resources will be abundant, and you will know by the way that you feel that you are fulfilling your reason for life.
Right, exactly. Your life purpose. We're given this GPS of joy, and as long as we follow that joy by listening to our intuitive abilities, by staying on the path of life purpose, then no matter what you do, where you do it, how you do it, you will be abundance and prosperity, and just the ability to live that life will be provided for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see how people would look at that and say that's privilege. But you know what? My skin, my chubbiness, it didn't do me any motherfucking favors. I did everything for me myself by listening to my intuition. So that's my little, I can see.
Let's just dissect privilege, right? So privilege is it's not this fucking card that you get to carry around and it like opens doors for you or whatever. It just means that you had less obstacles than another person.
Right.
It's not that you were always, and for some people, some people obviously they had like monetary privilege or whatever. So yes, there are some people that had like power-ups, on their way through life. But generally speaking, privilege is more of the lack of extra hurdles and burdens and things that prevent you from moving forward as quickly or as easily as maybe somebody else without those things, would.
That's an important distinction.
Yeah, it is. So there's people so there's discussion, right? So these are the objections to the teachings of Abraham Hicks.
Yeah.
So,
okay, let's get into it.
So the first one is the fact that Abraham Hicks is a business. So talking about like obviously the movie The Secret. Although there was some kind of like disagreement there between Esther and the person who was putting Rhonda Byrne, who was putting it together, and in the end they did not agree. So in like the final version or like the most recent version, Esther and Jerry aren't there. They were not.
Ooh, Rhonda cut him out. Rhonda's like, bitch, you out.
Yeah. Okay. But that for me, that kind of triggered that whole thing again of like when people talk crap about like curanderos and they say like, oh well, they're not supposed to charge. Like back in their village, if they were back in Mexico, they wouldn't be charging. It's
yeah, they would.
they would. Yeah, Well, it depends too, right? It was because sometimes, yeah, there were instances where they didn't charge, but there was a reason why. It was because they were working within their community and their community was taking care of them.
Right.
So
Equitable
there was
exchange of energy.
exactly equitable
Yeah.
exchange of energy that was happening.
Mhm.
But when you had outsiders coming into these little towns or wherever, yeah, then they started to charge them because there wasn't going to be an equal exchange at that point unless they were charged.
Right.
So just because we live in this world and we're humans and we are part of a fucking capitalist system,
It's a capitalistic fucking society.
yeah, so and that's just the reality of where we're
Yep.
at. So just because someone's making money from it or making a living from it,
Mhm.
like, does that automatically mean that what they're doing is a sham? Like, I
No,
don't
and
see how
that's
that
one of the
equates.
that's one of the biggest bullshit myths. And what is it? What it is it's a judgment, is what it is.
Mhm.
You know, if you have a spiritual gift, you shouldn't share. You shouldn't charge for that. First off, fuck you, because my gifts are. I don't have any gifts. I have abilities. I have skills that I
Yeah.
have honed, that I have studied, that I have increased, and that I have developed. And those skills are a direct result of the tools that I have to perform my life path. And the life path is not always an occupation, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
So again, it's a judgment. I don't have a problem with anybody that charges for any spiritual service.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a service.
It's a
At the end
service.
of the day, it
Yep.
takes that person time and effort. And why shouldn't they be compensated for their time
Exactly.
and effort? I
Exactly.
don't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can sell legal services, you can sell your legal knowledge, and you're okay, but you can't sell your spiritual knowledge. I don't. It doesn't track with me. Number one is a thumbs down for me.
Exactly.
What is it? Roger Ebert and whatever. Thumbs down. Thumbs down on number one.
Thumbs down, number one. Okay, number two. Abraham Hicks, truth or lie. And this one I've heard other people saying, okay, so we have this disembodied entity or a group of entities claiming to be Abraham, channeling its gems of wisdom, pearls of comfort, and reassurance through Esther Hicks. So here's the question. How do we know whether Abraham is benign or malign?
What the fuck does it be? Okay, keep going.
I just think proof is in the pudding. Like, right? If your teachings are like out here, you need to marry 12-year-old little girls and have 50 children with them, I would say that's probably not okay, right? And that your teachings are probably, pretty bullshit. But if the teachings are telling you, like, hey, like, your happiness, when you find joy in doing stuff, like, that's your purpose and focus on that. Yep. I don't understand what the fuck is the problem.
It's just bullshit naysayers that are like, prove who you're channeling. You know what I mean? Channeling. Yeah. There's no fucking way to prove channeling. You can't do it. And I've said that in so many of my channeling or intuitive development classes. It just comes upon you. But I tell you what, you write it down and then you look at that later, you have no idea where the hell that profound wisdom came from, because that doesn't come from you. You were just pounding margaritas last night at, the fucking alibi bar with your friends. That's not my wisdom. I don't know where that came from. Thumbs down to number two.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's that simple, though. I think if what a person is saying, whether they're talking about it comes from a higher being or whatever, if that thing is talking about hurting other people or otherwise imposing on the free will of other people, I would say that's a huge red flag. And that's how you know it's not benign.
And if you can't make that discernment, then go away. Because seriously, if you can't read something and see that it is uplifting or that it is, it's not like Abraham Hicks is saying, go forth and dance with demons and drink the blood of babies, some bullshit like that. Right. Like, they're saying, go follow your joy, spread it around. Yeah. And you'll be abundant. So it's just bullshit naysayers that are just looking for something to bitch about.
Yeah. Okay. So the third one is a morally despicable basic teaching.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, there's some just like false equivalencies in this argument. So since all that happens to us is supposedly the result of our positive or negative thoughts, it's like, well, who said that? Like
Mhm.
where did that exactly? No one's blame. There's no blame in any of this stuff. But anyway, and then it goes on to say the millions who died either through political persecution, genocide, or starvation have therefore brought this upon themselves by their thoughts, and they are therefore
come
responsible
on.
for their own destruction.
Oh boy, no. Again, free will, ignorance, false, like you said, false comparisons. I mean, false equivalencies. It's somebody taking something and twisting it into be something that it's
Yeah.
not in order to support their narrative that this information sucks.
Yeah. And not to disregard the fact that people have been historically and continue to be victims of political persecution, of genocide,
100%.
of starvation. That does happen
Nope.
in this world. But it's the understanding that we are human beings living in this world
Yep.
with
Free will.
other human beings with free will.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I don't, as much as I have free will, you do too. But however, due to the systems in place, oftentimes, the free will of a person or a group in power trumps that of people usually in minority groups.
Mhm. No pun intended, except for pun intended.
Yeah.
So this ties into why there is a group that I belong to, and it's like called something the Afterlife, and it's a
Mhm.
public group, so you get all sorts of people in there that are, and I keep it open because it's amusing, but also I'm like, whoosh. But there are people that get furious when people that believe in the concept of reincarnation tell them that any trauma or abuse that they experienced was something that they quote unquote signed up for, that they wrote within their own soul blueprint, blah blah.
That's
And I
hard.
get
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
because I remember
It's
when
not
I
helpful.
first started out, it's not helpful.
Mhm.
And I remember when I first started out, somebody told me, oh, you signed up for your, sexual abuse. And it's like, okay. And I was ready to like come across the table at them. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not as black and white as that. It's not like, as a soul, we sit there and we say, I'm going to be abused, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
There is the propensity because of the free will for this lesson or this experience, because karma in the human incarnation is experiential. But because people have free will, when they enter into these soul contracts, they have, both of my legs are tingling. Y'all know that means that's validation from spirit that what I'm speaking is the truth. When people sign these soul contracts with each other, the intent behind them is to reach the highest levels of these incarnations. I plan to be the best version of myself and have the best outcome. But again, you get incarnated and shit happens. Life happens. Free will happens. And people take the wrong, or I won't say they take the wrong turn. They make decisions that are not what they had hoped they would make while in spirit. And that's what happens there. So, what do you,
Yeah.
free will.
Yeah. And we can all acknowledge that, like, whether you believe in whatever you believe in, you can acknowledge that you have free will. There's not some, well, I don't know. I don't actually know. Now that I'm thinking about it, we've been watching this show. What is it called? It's about this guy. They're like these like ex cholos, and it's called Hey Fool. And
Wait, can we stop for just a minute? What is a cholo?
Oh, like a gangster, like a Latino, Latinx,
okay.
like
That's a funny
gangster.
word.
Yeah,
Right, I get it.
Yeah, so
cholos.
Yeah, so they're so one of them, he's going through his 12-step program, right? And so part of the thing is like he has to go and apologize to the people he's done wrong or whatever. And he goes to this guy's house and he's like, hey man, like I'm just here, I'm just sorry about, like shooting up on you or whatever it was. And
I really need to apologize for that.
Yeah. And the other guy's like, nah, man, it's all good. Like, we were like, I found like, I just so you know, like I understand like what happened. It's like the devil made you do it, man. It was the devil.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, man, the devil's the one that makes you do all the bad things. Like anything bad that you do in your life, that was the devil. And I was like, oh my God. Like, no, there's so many people that like seriously are just out there like believing that shit.
They believe
like,
it, yeah.
Like, and that to me is like that you're just giving up your free will. Like you're just like constantly just like fucking being subjected to stupid ass actions thanks to the devil. Like it just seems like what an easy cop out. Like what an easy like wow. I'm sorry I stole $20 from your purse. The devil made me do it.
The devil made me do it. I always wondered how people got possessed. And because if you have a strong enough free will, or if you have free will, you know, that's one of the 12 laws of the universe. You can say, no, get out of my energy field, fucking bounce, you know, be gone, Satan, demon, whatever, get thee behind me. And I always wondered that, but then, you know, people give up their free will when they decide to, you know, take they're exercising their free will when they decide to take a life. So it seems also that they could also give up their free will. So, you know, I was just kind of wondered like how that works with people that are able to succumb to possession and stuff like that.
From my understanding, like the whole possession thing is because of your vibration, right?
Yeah.
So if you get into like the really low vibe point, like if you're, so for example, it's shown a lot with like exorcisms and like real quote unquote real life cases of exorcism. If you know, choose to believe that stuff, a lot of it is like women who are victims of incest
and depression, and bipolar, mental illness and stuff like that.
Even like the idea of poltergeists, like poltergeist historically show up in a house that has teenagers in it, and it has to do with the energy of the teenager.
Oh, shut up, that's interesting.
So I think it's that. It's like obviously like their mental state. So we can say vibration or whatever, but another same like thing. More so another like more traditional way to say it is like their mental state. So if a person's mental state is in a really bad dark place, then it allows for that possession of, you know, a dark entity to come in and take them over.
That makes sense, because it seems like there was a show back in the 2000s, I think, or the 90s. It was called Paranormal State. And they were always going to visit people that were possessed, right? And these people always were troubled human beings. Always troubled human beings. You just don't see a high-performing, high-achieving, you know, somebody, you know, living their best life. You just don't see them being possessed by, you know... by a demon. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. All right. So the next one is false hope. So if we can do anything and be anything we want, because deep inside there is an awesome power of unlimited potential, a deep spiritual self that once unleashed will empower us to become the tycoons, the rock stars, the writers that we really are. The true spiritual self is an infallible guide to the good life and an unlimited personal fulfillment. And if this is not happening, if we are confused, this is clearly because we are not connected to its power, or so they say. And then this is where they come into this false conclusion of, so if it doesn't work, it's your fault. It's like, who said that?
Nobody
Who said that it's your fault? Well, I think, again, it comes from trying to put together the idea that like you have the power to do this. So if you don't get to a place where you can do it, that's because of you. And so, you know, but it's disregarding, right? Like so many things.
So many things. I mean, if you don't achieve a specific intention or goal, it is because of you. Yes, there are extenuating circumstances. There are circumstances, right? But then when you bring in the other spiritual principles, divine timing, divine order, maybe it's not what you're supposed to do. Super example real quick. In 2017, I wanted my own brick and mortar. I was tired of doing readings out of my house. I'd left the corporate world. I was tired of having people in my house. I wanted a brick and mortar. I found this place and every goddamn thing kept going wrong. Nothing went right. And I finally just had to say, this place isn't meant for me. It's just not meant for me. So I let go. I let it go. And then 3 weeks later, that's when I found my studio in Woke. So, or in Rio Town. So sometimes those roadblocks, those stoppages are actually just trying to redirect you. Right. But people see them and they're like, life sucks. I suck. This isn't fair. Life hates me. I'm just going to stop.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, okay, this is not the path to take. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to just stop doing this for now, but I'm
Yeah.
still going to stay open to the thing that I want. And then boom,
Yeah.
there it is. It shows up. So,
Yeah.
you know, it, again, perspective. How do you look at shit? Do you look at shit? Do you look at everything in your life as a defeatist, or do you look at it as a redirection?
Yeah. I think the thing that I think we should point out is that, again, we're going back to privilege as well, right?
Yes.
So as much as you may want something sometimes, again, there are sometimes where you have extra barriers in place.
Yes.
If you're an immigrant into a country and you don't speak the language clearly, like that's an extra hurdle that you have to. It's a barrier that you have to overcome.
Yep.
So no, it's not like 100% always your fault, right?
No.
Because sometimes shit's just harder for you. And so I think that's where we get into this part where some people get mad because it's like, oh, well, spirituality is like so just like overlooking the fact that people have barriers and things that they need to.
Systemic racism, barriers, all of those things.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard because when you put those things aside, they cease to become as deeply embedded as in the equation as they would be if you don't. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, this is not, and I'm not at all saying, I'm not saying that there weren't barriers. I would never have gotten the studio if I hadn't have met Kathleen, because I didn't have the means to get a business loan. I mean, you know, I was self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no way. Mm-hmm. Somehow the universe conspired to give me that goddamn studio. Somehow. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that happens in every situation, but I am saying that, that, yeah, you just, there's so many different perspectives that you can't, it's hard to look at it. This one, I would say, okay, this one requires a little bit of a deeper dive because there is.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think there's kind of a way to not simplify it, but just kind of get the point across. Okay. I think that essentially the idea is meant to inspire you. And even if you are like, what if you are a person who you grew up and you didn't have any kind of privileges, and you maybe were a child of immigrant parents, and you had to work to sustain your family. You didn't have the ability to go to college. You always had to work really hard your whole life. You were taught from early on in your childhood that the only way to ever get ahead was to work super, super hard, and that no one owes you anything. You got to earn it all yourself, or whatever, or that like, this is the life we're supposed to live all the time. Like, it's always going to be hard. But if you take this as inspiration, not judgment, not saying like, oh, you haven't achieved XYZ because you haven't thought hard enough or whatever. No, take it as an inspiration to feel empowered.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like that's all I think it's trying to do is just empower you as a human being, as a spiritual being. And that's it. Like, it's not trying to place blame on things for what? That's judgment. And judgment, again, it's a human thing.
Plus, also look at it this way. How many empowered people do you know give up? How many empowered people do you know don't have a high level of tenacity, of dogged determination, of, maybe quitting, but then starting back up again, right? So empowerment, that in himself, when you're empowered, you've already reached a level of pretty much nothing's going to stop me, regardless of what systemic, barriers are ahead of me. Nothing's going to stop me. This is what I'm meant to do. So there's also that too. So again, we're back to the vibrational frequency. Somebody who is traumatized, depressive, all of those things is not gonna be in the same state of mind as somebody who is ready to go do this damn thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's so many aspects of it.
Yeah.
That one deserves, I'm not going to say a thumbs up, but that's a legitimate. It's
definitely worth thinking about. Yeah.
Yes. It's legitimate.
Yeah. It's definitely a legitimate question. I understand. I don't see the point of imposing blame on something that's supposed to be inspiring. Like,
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
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 And maybe like the writer's also triggered by their own personal failures.
I don't
And they're
know.
just
I'd
kinda-
like to do some research into this. You know, I always am suspect of the complainer more than I am the person they're complaining about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So there's also a question of what is the source? Like, don't romanticize so-called channeled information as automatically better or more pure or more truthful or without an agenda. And it's like, well, I mean, I'm sure that can be true, right? Because it's information that's funneled through a human, right? And through a human's brain. And there has to be some human bias imposed on it in some ways. So that's not to say, but
100%. If anything, I'm more skeptical of channeled information. Remember I told you about the experience I had where the channeler told me that I needed to stop smoking, and I was like, but you don't know. Right? So she was channeling her own bias. So
yeah.
if anything, I'm more skeptical of channeled information, and not everybody's a channel, but everybody can channel, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be a determining factor for me.
So this person, their whole, like, wrapping it up, like, their whole argument was that the fact that they were committed to these teachings for like 5 solid years. And in that time, they felt like they were on some like crazy emotional high that made them feel like their life was really amazing and that they knew the secrets of the universe. And then now they've come to the conclusion that even though their life seemed unique through this like whole special law of attraction filter, it was actually no different from regular life. And I would say that this author has actually just integrated these teachings and doesn't have to constantly live on a high and just be like, this is life and this is what it's supposed to be. And like, I don't see what's wrong with that. Like, why are you so mad?
But why are you so mad? Also, the spiritual awakening and the path to enlightenment and your journey and all that stuff, you do reach these incredible highs. But if she is on a high for 5 years, she's doing something that none of us know what she's doing yet, because I have never, those highs are like maybe 1 or 2 days or 3 days or a month or whatever, right? Like after you first learn Reiki, you're just like, you see the world with rose-colored glasses. Everywhere. You feel love and see it. So it's divergence and convergence. It's cyclical. It's a roller coaster. So if she's got this 5-year high going, I think she's inflating her experience to support her judgment.
Yeah. Essentially, they claim that what Abraham Hicks taught them to do is that to see a normal life through a special lens of magic. And for some reason, they're like, I don't like that.
She doesn't like to be shown magic.
I'm like, I don't get it. Like, it's just about joy. It's just about allowing yourself to view things from maybe a more positive perspective, and not, maybe she was just, or he or she, I don't know if this,
we don't know if it was a she.
Yeah, they, maybe they were walking around spiritually bypassing people all the time and saying shit, you know, like instead of being sensitive to someone, they were like, oh, just think positive or something. And then maybe they got called out. I don't know. Like, I don't know what went wrong in their life that
prompted that.
Prompted that and pushed them away and decided like, this is bullshit. I don't know.
I mean, from a different perspective, I do think that Abraham teaches us how to look at life through a magical lens, because they remind us how powerful we are as co-creative beings, and that we get to experience or determine our experiences. But first we have to do the fucking work, and the work is hard. The work is heavy and hard and not at all magical, and it's resolving, healing your trauma, healing, past life stuff. It's not at all. The magic comes when you realize you reached this hurdle. You were able to manifest this thing or reach this mindset that you no longer struggle with. That's the magic, and then that creates a different level of experience in your life. So the magic is cyclical, and it's all of these things. But anyway, so I don't have a problem with being taught how to live, how to harness the magic. I don't care. Like, thumbs down for that one for me.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, I understand. I understand to an extent, but I feel like a lot of it is just drawing conclusions from things that just aren't there, or imposing your own like personal biases,
Yeah.
or whatever went wrong for you, and for some reason you feel like you got to take it out on this. But I don't know. There's also this article that I found on medium.com, and it is called Blissfully Brainwashed: The Cult of Abraham Hicks. And I'm like, I don't
That
think
sold
you guys...
a couple thousand copies.
I'm like, I don't think you know what a cult is, but okay. Because okay, I'm not gonna get too
what's
deep
that
into
one
this,
say?
but so when it talks about the cult mentality, which was the thing I want to know about, it said that it's easy to fall prey to these teachings without even realizing it. Abraham Hicks operates with a cult-like mentality. Abraham encourages listeners to ignore any criticism or negativity, which makes people eliminate any information that does not support its teachings.
It's not true.
And I'm like, where did you get that from? I didn't get that from just ignore it. No.
No,
Yeah.
Show me the proof. Show me the proof. Where does it say that in any of their books?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's I don't think so. And how is that necessarily cult like? Like, well, okay, if they were actually doing that, I would see it. But you just made this up. But there's so many other things to cults, like isolating you from everyone else. Like that's like that's like cult school 101 is isolation.
Teal Swan. Teal Swan is a cult.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, telling you to write off everyone else and you can't have any contact with the outside world. Like, oh, that's cult. Cult for sure. And then it questions like the source and about Esther. But it just, I don't know, because she was on Oprah, like it doesn't again, whatever. That doesn't make something evil.
She was on Oprah because she's a badass. I'd like to read an excerpt from her book, Getting into the Vortex. And this is a really cool one. She talks about getting into the vortex, which is basically just means getting into the flow of the abundance of the universe. Yes. And this is a cute little book, and I definitely recommend everybody get this little sucker and read it. But this is one of my favorite passages in this. And it's a little bit long, but I'm going to touch on it. So basically this is the section on financial abundance, which everybody's interested in, right? Mm-hmm. So she says, sometimes, even though you are asking for a specific desire to be fulfilled, you're not actually moving toward the fulfillment of your desire. Instead, you are actually moving further from it. And you and I talked about this in one of our past episodes. Mm-hmm. And even though you think you are asking for what you want, your request is actually being made from your awareness of its absence in your life. Yes. You cannot get to where you want to be when you are keenly aware of its absence. So rather than saying, I want more money, instead say, I want to feel my financial well-being. You see, it is possible to feel an increased sense of financial well-being even before the money comes. But when you are focused upon the desire for the money and taking score, basically keeping score of the absence of the money, you are vibrationally defeating your own purpose. So this is what they teach. This is not cultish or, bypassing or anything. She's saying, if you're going to continue to be aware of the shit that you want that's not in your life, then you're not going to get it. There's none of these concepts in that. And then let me wrap it up with this. She says, Abraham says, you will have only to remember that at first, the evidence of your improved state of allowing, it simply comes to you in the form of feeling good. So first you have to understand that you're going to start to feel good. It's not going to come in the form of money or new cars, but eventually the money and the new cars will come too. So again, Danielle Laporte is another spiritual leader who, really teaches this practice of determining how you want to feel. That's what's going to bring your manifestation to you, not I
Yes.
want this and I want that, and not
Yes.
focusing on the lack of that. So that's sort of the gist of the type of teachings that Abraham supports. And
Mhm.
I don't see how that's culty or bypassing or anything like
know.
that.
I'm not going to read anything else from this article, because essentially it just goes through and tries to break things down. It has its own theories, and then it just uses Bible quotes to try to prove it.
Oh, well, that's always a real, that always is really, I'm sold with those Bible quotes.
I think the trigger point for them is the fact that Christianity essentially teaches that the power resides outside of yourself.
Absolutely.
And that there's this man in the sky who's jealous and
Vengeful,
but also
angry.
but also loves you, but also
sounds like a narcissist.
Yeah, but he loves you, but he's also very jealous, but he wants the best for you, but also he knows what's best for you, and you don't know what's best for you.
That's classic narcissist.
So the fact that with these kinds of teachings, it is giving you back the power to yourself and reminding you that you are, whether you want to use the word God or not, if you want to use, and that's the thing, is source, universe, God, whatever, it's up to you. Because some of us have a lot of religious trauma with the word God, and we think of that whole man in the sky thing, and we're like, yeah, I don't like that word, and that's okay. But if whatever it is reminding you that you came from that, and therefore you are a part of it, and therefore you have the same power and abilities to co-create, because if you are a creation of the universe, then you are also empowered to co-create with it.
Yes, 100%. And that's the power within, is the goddamn reason all of those passages were stricken, if that's a word, from the Bible in the first place by the man. By the Romans, whoever went through the Bible and said, well, they can't know this shit. We're definitely not going to let them know that. Oh my God, get rid of this. Everything's a sin except for you worshiping to this higher power that will do everything for you, but you must first do everything that we say.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why more people don't find the Bible to be such a load of shit. I mean, we talked about this before. There is community with religion. There is communion. There is all of those things. But it's no different than coming together in a goddamn book club, right? You come together with a single interest or pleasure, and but this one freaking interest controls so many people in such ridiculous ways. And if it's not obvious enough, it's the fact that the separation of church and state is now just being shit upon by the highest court in the fucking country, which is Supreme Court. So get me started, girl.
Yeah.
This was a really fun topic, though. We should start looking at more topics like this, where we look at things and we're like, no, that's bullshit. That's wrong.
Let's talk about both sides. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like talking about both sides.
That was fun. All right. Well, you have something for us on the closing vibe today?
I do. So remember I talked about how I was going to do numerology reports for people, or personal year forecasts?
Yes.
Well, I'm not going to do that. I've decided I'm not going to do it. It's a lot of work. I'm going to add it as an option on my website. People can order them, but I'm not going to just launch them. So anyway.
Okay.
As a result, I decided to redo the report of the format. And then I came across a new area of numerology that I had never studied. And I want to talk about it here because it's really cool.
Okay.
And it's easy. Everybody can figure their own out. So they're actually called period cycles. But I don't
Okay.
really like that term period cycles. It's like menstruation. I'm not a fan of that. So I changed the wording to life phases, which is a little
Okay.
bit more standard. So these are one of the easier calculations of numerology because they're based on the month, the day, and the year of birth, respectively. So this is how you calculate yours.
Mm-hmm.
We have three major phases in our life. We have a first phase, a second phase, and a third phase. All right. And those are reflected in your actual birthday. So if you were born on March 4th, 1978, then your first phase would be a 3. Your second phase would be a 4. And then your third phase, because everything's in single digits, you'd have to add 1, 9 plus 7 plus 8 together. All right.
Okay.
So when you add, here I got my calculator out, 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 8, that's a 20, that's a 25. And then you want to break that down into a single digit. So the last number would be a 7. So your first phase of your life is would be a 1. Or I'm sorry, a 3. Your second phase would be a 4, and your third phase would be a 7. What do these mean? What's the big deal about these? All right. So the first phase, that's where we find us trying to find our true nature, right? We're trying to cope with all of the powerful forces that are present in our environment, like our parents, our socioeconomic conditions, all of that good stuff. Okay. That cycle lasts until about your early to mid 30s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second cycle or period of your life brings about that slow emergence of who we are, our individual talents, our individual creative sort of expressions. Now, the initial part of the cycle, which is our early 30s, mid 30s, it represents sort of that struggle to find our place in the world. And then the late 30s, early 40s, and 50s, that sees us with a greater degree of self mastery and influence and all that stuff. So that's the second phase in your life. And then the third and final phase in your life, that represents the flowering. That's where we have our greatest degree of self-expression, our greatest degree of personal power. And that cycle typically starts up in the mid 50s, but it can also start up as late as your late 60s even. So so anyway, those three major phases in our life, they're just broken down into different lessons. Okay, so for instance, the person who was born on March 4th, 1978, that first phase is a 3. So they're going to be focused on self-expression, being authentic, authentically expressing themselves based on all of their parenting and socioeconomic. What's coming to mind right now is somebody who would realize that they were gay, maybe, or trans, or something like that. Like, who is the true expression of myself? Then they get to the second phase of life where they are a 4, and the 4 is about creating stability. It's about making sure that you have a stable life, or you have a solid foundations, you have good community, you're connecting with good community, that sort of thing. You have all the things you need to build this wonderful life. And then the third phase of life would be a 7, and the 7 is all about that search for deeper meaning and knowledge. What does it all mean? What did it mean? What were the lessons that I learned in this life? As you come together and you have, you've built this amazing life, you look back on your life and you say, what was it all for? What was the purpose of it? And that also is when they have a 7 in their chart, where they also tap into spirituality or that sort of thing. So I came across those when I was doing my research and, just getting more advanced in my research of numerology. I found that and I thought, that is a really freaking cool concept. So I just wanted to share it with everybody. It's easy to figure it out. Again, your first phase is the month that you were born in, broken down into a single digit. Your second phase is the day that you were born on, broken down into a single digit. And your third phase is the year that you were born, broken down into a single digit. And then you can look up any numerology website or whatever to find out what those single digit numbers mean.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Were you sitting there doing yours when I was doing
Yes, I did mine.
Yeah.
Mine's 1, 4, and 6.
Oh, well, and see that, look at that, like, right? Leadership, self-expression, self-individualizing, individualizing yourself.
Yes.
And then moving into creating stability and community and all of that stuff, which that's where you are now. You're creating your community, you're creating stability, but also that for is the teacher. And, that's teaching others, showing others, leading others, guiding others. And then in the last phase, it'll be more about family and the community that you've created and the, your guides are showing me, having grandchildren and just the solid, loving community that you've sort of amassed, not just family, but also friends. So,
Yay.
I know, I love that. It's so cool. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. You can find us on all the socials under Esoterics Podcast, and join our Facebook group, the Esoterics Community, where there's all sorts of fun things going on in there and good conversations and good stuff.
Absolutely. And just a reminder, if you haven't already subscribed to this podcast, please do so and leave us a review on whatever app or service you use to listen to the podcast. You can follow us on all the socials under Esoterics Podcast, Instagram and TikTok. We'll be adding new content there shortly.
Yay.
Yeah. And don't forget to stay mystical, stay magical, and ready to do it again next week.
Bye.
Bye.